Saskatchewan most willing to leave Canada if Liberals win, poll finds. A new poll by the Angus Reid Institute reveals that Saskatchewan leads all provinces in support for leaving Canada should the Liberals win the next federal election. One-third, 33% of Saskatchewan residents say they would vote to exit Confederation either to form their own country or to join the U.S. if the Liberals form government. Amid ongoing tensions between Canada and the U.S., and fresh speculation over the idea of Canada as the 51st state, talk of secession, especially in western provinces, has resurfaced. Reform Party founder Preston Manning warned in the Globe and Mail that a vote for the Carney Liberals is a vote for Western secession, a vote for the breakup of Canada as we know it. Both Liberal leader Mark Carney and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre pushed back. Carney dismissed Manning's dramatic comments as unhelpful, while Poilievre emphasized national unity. We need to unite the country. Still, Angus Reid's data indicates that election outcome significantly affects secessionist sentiment in Saskatchewan. The province's 14 federal ridings have voted entirely Conservative in the last two elections, which may explain why discontent spikes that the Liberals are projected to win. Support for independence rises from 20% to 33%, and support for joining the U.S. jumps from 17% to 23% under that scenario. Alberta and Quebec follow closely behind, each with 30% of residents saying they would vote to leave Canada if the Liberals win. British Columbia 17%, Ontario 13%, Manitoba 12%, and the Atlantic provinces 10% trail further behind. When it comes to joining the United States, Alberta tops the list at 27%, followed by Saskatchewan 23%, BC 19%, Ontario 16%, Manitoba 15%, the Atlantic provinces 12%, and Quebec 11%. Despite these figures, the Angus Reid report notes that the vast majority still say they would vote no to leaving the Federation. The survey suggests a deeper cause behind Saskatchewan's dissatisfaction. Only 25% of residents believe their province is respected by the rest of Canada. Both Saskatchewan and Alberta have recently passed legislation aimed at boosting provincial autonomy and pushing back against federal authority. Ultimately, Angus Reid concludes that while threatening separatism is evidently seen as a good bargaining chip, few Canadians appear to actually want to leave Federation. The poll surveyed 2,400 Canadian adults online between March 20th and 24th, using a randomized and census-weighted sample.
Joe Rogan was confronted by guest Douglas Murray on a recent episode of The Joe Rogan Experience for giving a platform to conspiracy theorists and controversial figures. Murray, a conservative British political commentator, criticized Rogan's habit of inviting guests who promote fringe ideas, specifically mentioning comedian Dave Smith, who was present in the studio. "Look, I just feel we should get it out straight away," Murray said. "I feel you've opened the door to quite a lot of people who now have got a big platform who have been throwing out counter-historical stuff of a very dangerous kind." He singled out Daryl Cooper, a past guest who had controversially called Winston Churchill the chief villain of World War II and distorted Holocaust narratives. Rogan and Smith attempted to defend Cooper, suggesting he was merely exploring ideas, but Murray pushed back. "If you throw a lot of S*** out there, there's some point at which I'm just raising questions is not a valid thing. You're not raising questions, you're not asking questions, you're telling people something." Murray's direct criticism of Rogan gained traction online. Douglas Murray does what few men alive would dare. He calls out Joe Rogan in his own studio, Sol Sadka commented. Richard Hanania added, Douglas Murray asks Rogan why he doesn't have real historians on to discuss history. Rogan responds that he wanted Ian Carroll on because he was interested in how you get started in conspiracies. Rogan appears completely unable to justify what he's doing. The debate also touched on Israel and Gaza. Murray, a strong supporter of Israel who's been accused of spreading anti-Islam rhetoric, challenged Smith's views on the conflict. Smith, who is Jewish and a grandchild of a Holocaust survivor, accused Murray of selective empathy for showing concern only for Israelis and not for Palestinians. Murray responded that people shouldn't speak with authority on regions they haven't visited, implying Smith had no grounds to comment on Gaza or Israel. Critics online challenged Murray's stance on expertise. Mehdi Hassan pointed out, Douglas Murray claims he doesn't talk about countries he hasn't visited. Has he been to Iran? Has he been to North Korea? pretty sure he has written extensively about and denounced both countries over the decades. Sagar and J.D added, I'm only a bit way through, but genuinely aghast at how censorious, arrogant, and just generally stupid Douglas Murray comes off in his debate with Dave Smith. The episode sparked widespread discussion about platforming controversial voices and the limits of just asking questions.
If you like this news and want more updates relating to this, please like, share, and subscribe.
Snowbirds saying goodbye, Canadians ditch U.S. properties amid political tensions for 15 years. Dale McCullen, a grain farmer from Innisfail, Alberta, escaped the bitter Canadian winters for Arizona sunshine. But after this past season, he's done. The papers are signed, McCullen said. I don't want to spend another one of my dollars down there. He and his wife finalized the sale of their Phoenix winter home this Friday. Though he'll miss the weather and the friends, McCullen says recent developments pushed them to leave. We've been tolerating the poor dollar for a few years, hoping that it would get better. But now this political mess with the U.S. and Mr. Trump, it's very, very insulting, he said after returning to Canada. It was just almost like a relief to be home. He recalled Americans apologizing for the political climate. They feel terrible. But it is what it is. They elected the man. The McMullins are part of a growing trend. More Canadian snowbirds are offloading their U.S. properties, frustrated by political instability, an unfavorable exchange rate, and border restrictions. In Quebec, Natalie Mancuso recently sold her Pompano Beach condo after 15 years of Florida getaways. We didn't want to keep investing and giving our money to a country that is led by a fool, she said. Trump was insulting Canadians like they're a piece of carpet under your feet. Though it was a difficult decision, Mancuso said, we felt like we couldn't betray our souls. Realtors on both sides of the border are noticing the trend. Laurie Lavini of Arizona Premier Realty reports a spike in listings. My phone's been ringing off the hook. Right now I have 16 listings, she said, compared to the usual 2 or 3. In Florida, agent Catherine Spino describes a major shift in the market as affordability and stability decline for Canadians. Last year, Canadians made up 13% of foreign home buyers in the U.S., mostly in Florida and Arizona, according to the National Association of Realtors. But cooling diplomatic relations are making sunny escapes less attractive. Bob Gass, a 72-year-old retiree from McCreary, Manitoba, has wintered in south-central Florida for years. Lately, he's noticed a trend. If you're Canadian, you're either putting your house up for sale and leaving or you're talking about it, he said. And that's where my wife and I are now. Concerns include the weak loonie, tariffs, and new rules requiring long-term visitors to register with U.S. authorities. We'd like to comply, but if that becomes a problem, then we've got to sell our house and get out, Gass said. For McCullen, it all came to a head after Trump's sovereignty threats and his reference to former PM Justin Trudeau as a governor. Enough is enough. We don't want to support that anymore. We came home and we'll join in and get our elbows up. U.S. dismisses Greenland-based commander following VP Vance's visit and controversy over chain of command. The U.S. military has dismissed Colonel Susanna Myers, the head of Patuxent Space Base in Greenland, shortly after Vice President J.D. Vance's contentious visit to the installation. According to military.com, Myers sent an internal email distancing herself from the vice president's presence amid the Biden administration's intensified push to obtain the strategically significant Arctic territory from Denmark. I do not presume to understand current politics, but what I do know is the concerns of the U.S. administration discussed by Vice President Vance on Friday are not reflective of Patuxent Space Base. She wrote, though Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell did not explicitly cite a reason for Myers' removal, he reposted the military.com report on X, stating, actions to undermine the chain of command or to subvert President Trump's agenda will not be tolerated at the Department of Defense. Vance's March 28 visit, accompanied by a U.S. delegation, came amid escalating rhetoric from Trump about asserting U.S. control over Greenland. During the trip, Vance criticized Denmark's handling of the island, accusing it of neglecting security and insisting Greenland would be safer under U.S. control. His comments drew sharp criticism from both Greenlandic and Danish officials. Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen condemned the approach. This is not how you speak to your close allies. In Greenland, Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen firmly rejected U.S. ambitions. Let me be clear, the United States will not get that. We do not belong to others. We decide our own future, he said. Seeking eventual independence from Denmark, Nielsen advocates for economic self-sufficiency. Though not part of the European Union, Greenland receives substantial financial support from Denmark. In a Facebook post following the U.S. delegation's visit, Nielsen urged resilience. We must react with calm, dignity, and unity. And it is through these values that we must clearly, distinctly and calmly show the American president that Greenland is ours.